I'd like to welcome everybody to this week's town hall. I just want to take everybody a minute to introduce everybody to Haley Lynn. She is the new receptionist here in the office, director of First Impressions. So when you do call in, she will be answering the phone for us here. And when you walk into the meeting, she will be the one that greets you at the door. And I just wanted to make a formal introduction to Miss Haley Lynn, to all the people out there in our client base and our future and prospective clients, so that they have an idea who Haley is when they do come into the office. She probably won't recognize you when you come into the office, but we'll work on that as we're moving forward. So this little welcome to Haley, we really appreciate it. The reminder.
Okay, let me interrupt. Okay, that's enough introduction. Haley, you can cut yours off and make that phone call now.
But the other thing of is a reminder. Haley, you do have the permission to go ahead and mute yourself and then go ahead and shut off your video. It comes from there so that you can do the things out there. And I do want to remind everybody that next Friday we're doing a Friday event. Come by the office. Let's have a soda, a beer, a glass of wine, maybe some cheese and crackers, whatever Miss Stacy decides to get for us. We just want to make it feel like the pandemic is in the overstage. I will admit, everybody does know that the office is not large enough for 6 feet of social distancing. So that's not going to be there. If you've been vaccinated, no mask, but I wanted to remind.
And we can't do a burn the mask party because we're not allowed to do bonfires in the office.
No, but so we have the availability to do that. If everybody's just kind of getting together, because it's been the first time that we've done it, I think, since 2019.
Wow.
And that's just too long to not have everybody in there. Thank you again for all the referrals that people have given us over 2020 and 2021. As I've said on these town halls, we really appreciate it. It's the greatest compliment that we can ever get, is that you're willing to refer a friend to come in and sit down and talk with us. So we'll go ahead and start tonight's town hall meeting. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Deanna.
This was funny. Tonight, I just wanted to address, I know we've spoken about it before, just the noise that you get in the media. And so I just wanted to cover some of the roots of this. A lot of it is largely driven just by the business model of the media in general. So I came across this because it was hilarious. JP analysts, they will generally put out analysis reports. Well, these analysis reports are hundreds and hundreds of pages deep, thousands of lines of analyses and code. But the media's job is to find the angle. That's what they're going to look for. And I'm looking for the history of this. I had it right in front of me and then it was lost. Sorry about that. They grabbed a headline from a JP Morgan analysis report when they began covering Bitcoin. They made a hypothetical estimate that Bitcoin could hit 146,000 in the long run if it became much, much less volatile, and if institutional investors adopted it as an alternative store of value for gold. We talked about this a couple of months ago. Here's the headline, though. The headline that the media grabbed from that report is, here's how Bitcoin could soon be worth 146,000 according to JP Morgan. The media sites are going to exploit the angle because that's how they give you what you want, not necessarily what you need. And it's going to work against investors in a couple of different ways. They're going to feed into probably one of the most dangerous psychological traps for an investor, and it's called confirmation bias. And confirmation bias is just the tendency to search for and recall information that confirms or supports something you already believe to be true. And one of the other tactics that is used by the media to sell media is they will look for angles and headlines of things that everyone is searching. So what's big right now? What most people are interested in often doesn't make for the best investment or the best benefit in their portfolio. The ones that generally that draw the greatest interest, they're already at their top. The water cooler stocks are already at their top. And you want to think about Tesla and Bitcoin. You know, once they became in the water cooler talk, and that's where you were seeing everything in the news media, they'd already reached a peak level. So then what happens is you're in this illusion of believing that a certain topic is really more important and more pressing than it is, because it's that herd mentality of everybody following that story. Everybody's following that story because it must be important. So it was an interesting perspective of how the media works and how and why they pull these headlines the way that they do. It's clever, but they generally will take one tip, one slice of truth, and exaggerate it and run it for all it's worth until they get on to something else that's new and shiny and exciting. And so it's not necessarily the best source of information for an individual investor. So now institutional investors know this. They read the actual analysis reports. But for the average individual investor, they're looking at media sources to make investment decisions. And it is a very watered down, massaged and sensationalized tip of the iceberg. So that's what I had for today.
I'm going to go ahead and kick in. Mel was having a little technical difficulties. He's going to be joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second segment versus the final segment. One of the things that people start to look at as we get closer to our retirement areas is the lump sum versus the pension. When this question was asked in 2008, a lot of pensions were in trouble. Back at that time frame, some pensions were only about 82% funded. But due to the rise in the stock market over the last 10 years, a lot of your larger pension plans are now getting close to being 100% funded. So we do have that as an option to look at when we're looking at the lump sum versus the pension. Many times when that thought process is done, people will look at it and say, here's my monthly pension amount. I'm going to multiply it by 12 to get what my annual payment will be. And then divide that into the amount of the lump sum. And they say, I hit a break-even point at 13, 14, 15 years, the pension is automatically going to win. And I look at it, that might be a little short-sighted on the ideas of how we compare those two. I think we have to take things into consideration. What I just talked about, is the pension fund fully funded? Because that makes it a lot better that we don't have to worry about, are we going to be shortchanged later in our life? The second thing that we have to look at is our overall health. Do I have health issues? What about my spouse? If we're going for a single life or a joint life, those things do come into play. The other thing that I found out in talking to more and more people over the years is control of the asset. A lot of people will look at it and say, yeah, the pension would probably work better, but if I prematurely pass, my pension doesn't go to my kids. I would like control of the asset. So there are a lot more things to look at when we start talking about pensions versus lump sums than just one different amount. The lump sum does give us the availability to use Roth conversions. Yes, we'd have to pay taxes if we do that. And then we could actually take the converted IRAs and turn it into pension style income that we cannot live, that would be tax-free. So that's one of the advantages of possibly looking at it to say, can we look at a lump sum or would we look at a pension? If you have those questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call. If you know somebody else that's entering that, I'm going to be retiring in the next 3 to 5 years, Boeing employees. You know, a lot of those people are being asked to move on. And if you know of any of those people that's one of the questions we know they're going to have, we'd love the opportunity to sit down and speak with them about that. Mel is having some technical difficulties, so I threatened to have him do the town hall by himself in 2 weeks, and he said that wouldn't work out real well. So we're just going to go ahead tonight. We're going to run it a little shorter than normal.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet, to the point. Short and sweet, to the point, and we're going to move forward. One thing that I would like to talk about before I go ahead and call it is for this. One of the things that we've been looking at is, with interest rates going to be increasing over the next 3 to 5 years, we just feel that, yes, for 10 years, people like me have been saying interest rates are going to be higher at the end of the year. But we've never had the government spend $7 trillion. So I think to control the inflation, interest rates are going to have to rise. What happens to our bond values when interest rates rise? If you remember the old teeter-totter, when interest rates rise, the values decrease. So we're looking at, should we be moving people to a bond replacement asset, take the risk of the bond going down in value out of the portfolio, and make the balance of the portfolio almost all equities? We're doing that with some clients. Some clients love the idea. Some clients are not as comfortable having 100% of 70% of their money in equities. Those are things that we can come in and talk to you about. If you've got questions, or that seems like something that you might have an interest in, take the time, give us a call in the office, and let's sit down and talk about it. Because I believe it's our fiduciary responsibility to let you know that we believe a part of your portfolio might have difficulties over the next 3 to 4 years. If that happens, we've got some ways that we can possibly protect that for a 3 to 4 year period. So if you got any questions, please give us a call. Let's sit down and talk. Again, thank you for the referrals. It's the greatest compliment that we can get, is when one of our clients says, please give Steve, Mel, or Deanna a call. Thank you very much for the town hall tonight. I look forward to hearing Mel do the whole thing in 2 weeks. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it.